by Sassoon. Grouping along the tunnel step by step, he winked his prying torch with patch and glare from side to side and sniffed the unwholesome air. Tins, boxes, bottles, shapes too vague to know, a mirror smashed the mattress from a bed, and he exploring 50 feet below, the rosy gleam of battle overhead. Tripping, he grabbed the wall, saw someone lie, humped at his feet, half hidden by a rug, and stooped to give the sleeper's arm a tug. I'm looking for headquarters, no reply. God blast your neck. For days he'd had no sleep. Get up and guide me through this stinking place, savage. He kicked a soft, unanswering heap and flashed his beam across the livid face. Terribly glaring up, whose eyes yet wore agony, dying hard 10 days before, and fists of fingers clutched a blackening wound. Alone he staggered on until he found dawn's ghosts that flittered down a shafted stair, to the dazed, muttering creatures in underground who hear the boom of shells and muffled sound. At last, with sweet of horror in his air, he climbed through darkness to the twilight air, unloading hell behind him step by step.
Of the rear guard by Sassoon is about a soldier whose senses are compromised and is desperately trying to escape from the polluted underground tunnels to the clean night air of the battlefield. He has a sense of urgency and terror in the poem. The tone is somber and desperate, and imagery is expressed through the entire poem when he's describing. The poetic devices he uses are alliteration and metaphor. He uses alliteration such as saw someone lie, humped at his feet, half. And he uses metaphor as saying dawn's ghost, as speaking as if it's a journey into hell and giving it a darker feel.
Okay, this is an excerpt from On the Bottom. It is about a man who is surviving in Auschwitz. This is hell. Today in our times, hell must be like this. A huge empty room. We are tired, standing on our feet, with a tap which drips while we cannot drink the water, and we wait for something which will certainly be terrible, and nothing happens and nothing continues to happen. What can we not think about? One cannot think anymore. It is like being already dead. Someone sits down on the ground. The time passes drop by drop.
Levi is describing his arrival at Auschwitz, a German concentration camp. The tone's pretty somber. Imagery, he talks about like describing the sign that walks in that translate to work gives you freedom. Poetic devices such as allusions and metaphors give more description about hell and the allusion to hell from Auschwitz.
Never shall I forget by Eli Wiesel. Never shall I forget that night, the first night in the camp that turned my life into one long night 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the small faces of the children whose bodies I saw transformed into smoke under a silent sky. Never shall I forget those flames that consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget the nocturnal silence that deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments that murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to ashes. Never shall I forget those things, even where I condemned to live as long as God himself. Never.
Go.
Never Shall I Forget by Elie Wiesel. He tells the things imprinted in his mind from living through the Holocaust. The tone of the poem is somber and hateful and also bitter. Imagery in the poem, he talks about in the smoke and seeing the small faces of children who were burned to death.
Go.
A metaphor used in the poem is when he talks about the flames that consumed his faith. And repetition was also used when he used the word never to emphasize his hate about the situation.
World War I marked the decline of the British Empire. Nationalism spread to their colonies who started to demand their independence. Changes in technology such as chemical warfare and advancements in airplanes affected each war, leading to more and more deaths. After the war, women's issues started to become more talked about, and new agencies were created to improve their status, such as the Committee for the Study of the Legal Status of Women. Steps in education were taken to try and keep children in school as long as possible, such as changing the age they could leave from 12 to 14. During the 20th century, writing became a way for soldiers to express how they felt and how they dealt with their feelings about war. The themes were somber and upsetting, and also the writing became more real as many of the people wrote memoirs. Also, more women started to come out with their writings in society.
Langdon.
You're black. You're Mexican.
Action.
You're white.